Hey everybody, welcome to Throwback Thursday, episode 10, the final episode. I've decided to not continue doing this series, not because I don't like doing reviews. I'm still going to be doing many music reviews. I just don't like to be constricted, I guess you'd say, to doing it on Thursdays, and there's so many reviews I want to do, especially old reviews, that just doing one every Thursday is going to take forever. So I'm still going to do many music reviews. Old albums, newer albums. I want to do some lists, like maybe some top 10 lists, top 20 lists, stuff like that. I just want to do more with my reviews. So I figured the 10th one's a good way to go out. So I picked an album by one of my favorite bands, one of the greatest bands of all time, and if you argue with me, I will fight you. The Who. Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, John Entwistle, and Keith Moon. Not the later Who, with Kenny Jones drumming. I'm going to talk about a quick one. Their second album was released December 9th of 1966, and wasn't released till April of 67 in the US, and the title of the album was changed to Happy Jack, and they removed the song Heatwave, which is a cover, from the Quick One album, the UK version, and replaced it with the song Happy Jack, because it was a top 40 hit single in the US, and they figured to do that, they sell more albums, which probably worked. And this is the one time I've talked about before how the US would just murder British versions of albums, cut them all up, and switch everything around. And I think this might be the one time. Only one song was removed, and one was replaced. One song replaced it. I think this might be the one time where the American one was actually better. So, yeah, I'll get into more of that once I get to the songs. So this is the Who's second album, and my personal opinion, I feel like the Who were at this point trying to figure out who they were as a band. Who they were. Get it? Their first album, My Generation, I won't talk too much about it. I'll probably review it at some point. Was really an extension of the band The Detours, which was the name of the Who before they became the Who, and their R&B roots. They did a lot of R&B covers. They were into American R&B, and they could hear that on their first album. They did some R&B covers on there, along with some songs by Pete Townsend, including My Generation and Kids Are Alright. And those songs sound different. It's like two different albums. It's like the R&B covers and the Pete Townsend originals, which are really showing how great of a songwriter he was to become. There's a lot of singles released around this time too, like Substitute and I Can't Explain, and I'm a Boy, which is a big one as far as the whole rock opera thing would go for the Who. They released so many damn singles in the 60s. I feel like one of these days I'm going to have to do a review of just those singles and the songs that were left off albums. There's so many. But you get to this album, their second album, which was 1966. It was like a year after their first one. And it's very different. This is all, well, except for the one song, this is all originals. And it just shows you how fast bands progressed in the 60s. It's amazing. But it's a very different album. It does seem like they're trying to find their footing, find what kind of band they want to be. This is the only album of theirs where all four members have songs that wrote songs for this album. And it's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this one. It's just so different than any of their other albums. It's a great album. It has a cover that was designed by a pop artist named Alan Aldridge. And it had like all 4 members on the cover holding instruments. And for each member, like a line from a song they wrote would come out of their instrument. Except for Keith Moon. Keith Moon has 2 songs on this album. One has vocals, one's an instrumental. And they have the title of the instrumental coming out of his drum set like it's a line from the song. There are no lines in the song. But whatever. It's a cool cover. The album hit number 4 in the UK. So it's a hit album. The Who were very big in the UK way before the US because they are usually much smarter than us as far as music goes. So I'm going to get to the album itself now, the songs. Took a lot of notes. It's only 10 songs, which is very strange for a British album at the time, where most of them had at least 12, usually 14. But 10 songs. I'm actually going to tell you who wrote these songs too, because all 4 members wrote them and you could tell the different styles. The first song, Run, 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 written by Pete Townsend. It's a good rock song. I love the sound of the bass in it. There's nothing complicated about the bass in it, but I love the way it sounds. The guitar solo is really cool. It's about a girl who has bad luck. It says that like a black cat crossed her path twice. She opens umbrellas in rooms. She has a rusty horseshoe, which I guess is bad luck. And she walks under ladders. And the song is basically telling her to run the hell away before something really bad happens to her. It's a really good, like, straight rock song. Probably the most rock song on this album. Alright, number 2, Boris the Spider, written by John Entwistle, the bass player. This is probably the most popular song John Entwistle ever wrote for The Who, or ever wrote at all. It was his first song he ever wrote, and he wrote it after hanging out with Bill Wyman. They were drinking together. Bill Wyman was the bass player for the Rolling Stones, and they were coming up with weird names to name animals for some reason, and John Entwistle came up with Boris the Spider. He wrote the song in about 6 minutes, and there you have it. And it contains what might be, not considered at the time, but what might be considered now as the first death metal vocal ever heard, when he says Boris the Spider in a really fucking deep voice in parts of the song. I would demonstrate for you, but I can get really deep, but not that deep. But yeah, and there's really high vocals saying creepy crawly, then really freaking low vocals saying Boris the Spider. Pete Townsend has said before that this was Jimi Hendrix's favorite Who song. So, that's something. Okay. Number 3, I Need You, written by Keith Moon. Yeah, written by Keith Moon. There's only a couple he wrote. They aren't the best songs, but they're alright. I Need You was originally titled I Need You Like I Need a Hole in the Head. And I guess he had this thing where when they were around the Beatles would talk. He claimed the Beatles would talk in some secret language behind his back. I don't know. And he was kind of trying to get back at them with this song, which I don't totally see, but by the lyrics, but whatever. And there's a vocal interlude in the song where he's imitating John Lennon. Now, he's denied this, that he's imitating John Lennon in this part of the song, but it's pretty obvious he's imitating John Lennon, and John Entwistle has actually confirmed that he's imitating John Lennon in the song, no matter what he says. So, Keith Moon imitating John Lennon. It's a pretty decent song, too. The drums are loud. There's a lot of loud drums on this album. Really cool, though. Keith Moon, one of the greatest drummers of all time. Alright, Number 4, Whiskey Man, written by John Entwistle, bass player again. 2 songs on this album. Now, the thing with John Entwistle is he has a really dark sense of humor, and it comes out in most of his songs. This is a song about an alcoholic who sees a man that he calls the Whiskey Man when he drinks. Now, he plans to be friends with this man, and nobody else can see him but him, and he just thinks about how they get along, and at the end, by the end of the song, he's committed. He's been put into a padded cell, and he's talking about how it's a shame there wasn't room for Whiskey Man as well. And yeah, it's a weird song. It's a really good song. I'm actually a really big fan of John Entwistle's songs with The Who. When you're in a band with a guy like Pete Townsend, who's a songwriting machine, it's hard to get your songs noticed. But he has a lot of good ones. Kind of like George Harrison in the Beatles. Great songwriter, but he was in a band with John Lennon and Paul McCartney. So, there you go. Okay, number 5, Heat Wave. The down point, the low point of this album. I don't know if they recorded it for this album or if it was recorded for the first album. But it's a cover of the Martha and the Vandellas song. It just feels really out of place on this album. And there's been like an extended edition of this album released with a bunch of songs that were recorded around the same time. And I just don't know why they went with this song instead of one of those songs. I don't know. You can skip that one. It's all right, but you don't need a cover on this album. It just interrupts the album. It feels like it's just in the way. You have these great songs, and then there's this song, and then more great songs. And I don't know why it's there, but it definitely sounds like it's more from the first album than this one. All right, number 6, Cobwebs and Strange, written by Keith Moon. I think this is the only official album, where he had any songs on. He had 2 on this one. He wrote some other ones that were on singles and outtakes and shit like this, but yeah, 2 on the actual album. It's an instrumental. It's an instrumental I happen to like a lot. It's pretty insane. When I think of Keith Moon, I like to think of when he thinks, because he's kind of a lunatic. This is what his brain sounds like when he thinks, is a song. It was originally titled Showbiz Sonata, and John Entwistle claims that he got the melody from a UK show called Man from Interpol. And if you ever seen the movie The Kids Are Alright, made in the 70s, I think it was released after Keith Moon died. Just it's a bunch of old film of The Who. It's really awesome. And they have like a promotional video for this song. And that's what they call them. They didn't call them music videos back then. They called them promotional videos. And it's a really weird video, and I really like it a lot. So if you ever see that movie, check it out. It's really cool. All right. Number 7 already. Don't Look Away. Another Pete Townsend song. It's kind of a bouncy, kind of country-esque song. It's a love song. He doesn't do a whole lot of outright love songs, but this is one. Telling her not to look away from him. And I like the song a lot. The cool guitar solo in the song. And there's really not a whole lot to say about this song. It's a song. It's a Pete Townsend song. It's a good song. And it's just a love song. It's kind of country-esque. That's all I can really say about it. Number 8, See My Way, written by Roger Daltrey. His one song on this album. I think this is the only album he had a song on too, although he did write a couple more that were used on other things. The only Daltrey song on the album. It's his first song he ever wrote. It's not great lyrically, but it's a catchy song. There's some Buddy Holly-esque drumming in it. I don't know if he's banging on a suitcase like he did in some of the Buddy Holly songs, but it's that kind of drumming, like the Peggy Sue kind of. I don't know, you can't hear that, but it's kind of like that. And they're a big Buddy Holly fan, so it makes sense. And I like the bridge and the bridge in the middle of the song when Pete Townsend harmonizes with Roger. It sounds really cool. I do like the song a lot. It's not the greatest. The lyrics aren't great at all, but it's an enjoyable song. Number 9, So Sad About Us, written by Pete Townsend. This was originally written for a band called the Merseys, but they ended up using it themselves. They realized it was too good, so they used it for themselves. And it's one of the Who's most covered songs, with bands like the Breeders and the Jam both doing versions of it, among others. There's some Beach Boys style vocal harmonies in it, and it's kind of a precursor to the power pop genre, you know, the ringing guitars and the crashing drums and it influenced a lot of bands. Like I said, a lot of bands covered it. The guitar riff is great. One of those Pete Townsend can come up with great guitar riffs with just chords. It's just amazing. Some sad lyrics, but it's a really, really good song. One of the best songs that he wrote during the 60s, I think. Really freaking good. But not as good as number 10. A Quick One While He's Away, written by Pete Townsend. Now this was a first, really. It was a medley, or a mini rock opera. Now we know about the Who and their rock operas with Tommy and Quadrophenia, and this was kind of a precursor to that. He had many precursors to the. As a songwriter, he was always wanting to do different things. So he was dabbling in this rock opera thing he had in his head. Songs like I'm a Boy, stuff like that. Some stuff on the Who Sellout, you can tell, directly led into Tommy. And this was kind of his first opera, really. Real opera. It contained 6 songs in one song. Pete likes to call it Tommy's Parents because it led into Tommy, really. It's the story of a girl whose lover has gone missing for nigh on a year, if you go by the lyrics. Yeah, she cheats on him while he's gone with a guy named Ivor, the engine driver. I guess it's a train guy, I guess. Her lover comes back and she confesses her infidelity and she is forgiven. By the end of the song, you know she's forgiven. And Townsend has said that the song briefly refers to his molestation as a child. He claims to have been. He has repressed memories of being molested as a child. I read his book. It's really good. Who I Am, I think it's called. Came out a few years ago. Really good autobiography. Yeah, he has repressed memories of being molested as a child. Not anything specific that he can remember, but he doesn't remember who, doesn't remember how, just that it happened. And he says Ivor, the engine driver, is kind of a metaphor for the abuser. So yeah, there's that. Really great song. There's bands like Green Day already owe a lot to the Who, but then you have songs by Green Day like Jesus of Suburbia or Homecoming, which are both on American Idiot, which do the whole bunch of songs in one song thing. And first time I heard them on those songs, I'm like, oh, Quick One While He's Away. And they ended up covering A Quick One While He's Away as a bonus track to their 21st Century Breakdown album. It's not bad. It's not nearly as good as the Who's version. If you want to hear the best version of the song, there's a special the Rolling Stones recorded called Rock and Roll Circus. They recorded it in I think it was the end of 1968. Had the Rolling Stones, obviously. Had the Who, had John Lennon, Eric Clapton, Yoko Ono, Jethro Tull, the early Jethro Tull. Really good. But yeah, they do A Quick One While He's Away on this and just blow everyone away. It's amazing. And the Rolling Stones have even said they regretted getting the Who to play on this because they just blew them away live. Nobody could touch the Who live back then. And I guess it was part of the reason they never officially released it. It was supposed to be a special on TV, and they never released it until like the 90s. It's just they weren't happy with their live performances, the Stones, and The Who just destroyed everybody. Okay, yeah, check that out. The 6 songs that are within the song, I have the names of them. The first part is Her Man's Been Gone. Second part is called Crying Town. Third part is called We Have a Remedy. The fourth part is called Ivor the Engine Driver. The fifth part is called Soon Be Home. And the sixth part is called You Are Forgiven. One funny part of this about this song, they wanted to get a cello in this one part of the song. I think it's in the You Are Forgiven part. And they couldn't afford to get a cello. So what they did, kind of like what I was talking about with the Yardbird song, where the guy mouthed the sound of a trumpet and they ended up keeping it because they couldn't afford to get a trumpet. And this one, they purposely said cello, 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 cello over and over again, like it was in place of where the cello would have been. I always found that amusing. And it works really good. I actually think it works better this way than it would have with an actual cello. But yeah, that's The Who's second album. A quick one. Great album. I'd give it a 9. 9 out of 10. Only because there's other albums that are definitely 10s out of 10 by them. Yeah, so this is the last Throwback Thursday episode. I will be back. I'll probably be doing even more reviews, so I just don't want to be restricted to doing it just on Thursday. So this is going to be the last one. Hope you guys tune in. Hope you enjoy it. Check out this album. And I don't believe I gave a review for my last one, The Clash, their debut album. I'll give it an 8. 8. Yeah, 8.5. 8.5 out of 10. Sometimes I forget to do the rating. It's stupid, I know. But yeah, so check out this album. It's great. The Who is amazing. Okay, have a good day, guys. I'll see you in some later reviews. I'll still be doing other kinds of videos too, but my review videos are definitely going to increase in number. So, talk to you later.